Mock. Draft. It's Mock Draft 4.0. How's it going, guys? And in today's video, going through all 60 picks, first and second round. This video took tons of time to do, so make sure you like the video, show some love, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I do NBA content like this all the time. Let's get right into it. First pick is going to be made by the Detroit Pistons. They are going in this Mock Draft 4.0 with Cade Cunningham. He's number one on all the boards that I've seen. Big 12 Player of the Year. Cade is the type of dude that you want to run your offense through. He's a big-time defender. He's a winner. Good chance that he's going to be a multiple-time All-Star, and I think he can be a number one option. What I'm saying, he is a franchise changer, basically. This pick gives Detroit a star. Things are looking up in the Motor City. Pick number 2 is going to be made by the Houston Rockets. They are selecting Jalen Green, who played for the G League Ignite team. I think he could lead the league in scoring one day. This guy is a shot maker, really explosive player. I think the sky's the limit. Also, he's half Filipino, so that would make Houston automatically the new favorite team of about 100 million people. I could see Jalen averaging about 20 points or so as a rookie, and then long-term, he and Kevin Porter Jr. could be a killer backcourt. Pick number 3, going to be made by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I have them selecting Evan Mobley, one-and-done player from USC. He's got the skills and defensive ability that teams really look for in a modern-day big man. 7 feet tall, developing shooting touch. I kind of see him along the lines of Chris Bosh, Pau Gasol long-term, but this guy has tons of upside. Does need to get stronger, needs to get more experience. But I think he and Jarrett Allen could actually play together for Cleveland and make a really nice front line. Another good prospect to put alongside Isaac Okoro, Darius Garland, and maybe Colin Sexton. Pick number 4, going to be made by the Toronto Raptors. They are going with Jalen Suggs, freshman from that awesome Gonzaga team that went to the national championship. I see this guy as kind of a modern-day Brandon Roy. Well-rounded offensive and defensive game. Big guard, he takes contact, offers athleticism, strength, passing, shot making. He would start right away for Toronto along with Fred VanVleet, put them alongside Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, make that return to the playoffs for the 905. Pick number 5, going to be made by the Orlando Magic. They're going with Scottie Barnes. 6'8 forward, 7'2 wingspan, NBA ready frame, very high level basketball IQ as a passer and a defender. I was watching some of this dude's highlights on YouTube, and his defensive tenacity is amazing. I think he can defend all 5 positions at the next level. Does need to get better on offense, but if he does, watch out. Scottie Barnes, along with a healthy Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, is a pretty scary team. Pick number 6, going to be made by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're going with James Bouknight, Jimmy Books, sophomore from UConn. He's an athlete, he's a scorer, the type of guy who can come off the bench and fill it up in that Jordan Clarkson mold. OKC needs a scorer off the bench, so I see him fitting in really well with this up-and-coming Thunder team. Pick number 7, going to be made by the Golden State Warriors via the Minnesota Timberwolves pick. They are going with Jonathan Kuminga, who was a teammate of Jalen Green on the G League Ignite team. He was like a top 3 player coming into the season, so I think getting him at number 7 would be a steal for Golden State. One of the youngest guys in this draft. He's a great dunker. He's awesome in transition. Just like with a lot of young guys, needs to refine his game, needs to learn how to compete on the floor at all times, but he's another one of those guys who could be an all-star in a few years. Pick number 8, another Orlando pick via the Chicago Bulls and the Nikola Vucevic trade. And they're going with Franz Wagner, the brother of Mo Wagner, who is on the Orlando team. But Franz is a good shooter from distance. He has clean mechanics, pretty good percentages, absolutely tremendous off-ball instincts that allow him to make an impact all over the floor. Orlando got Scottie Barnes a few picks ago. This is another piece to add to their young core. Pick number 9, going to be made by the Sacramento Kings. They are going with Moses Moody. He was actually a high school teammate of Cade Cunningham and Scottie Barnes. I see low bust potential with Moses Moody. You draft him based on his 3-and-D wing potential. That means three-point shooting and defense. He's a shooter. He's a hustle guy. He's a rebounder. Really good bench piece for the Kings. Pick number 10, going to be made by the New Orleans Pelicans. They are going with Josh Giddey. He's an international player from the Australian League. He's a big playmaker. Still needs to develop his scoring, but has great long-term potential. Really nice feel for the game, and it looks like he is moving up draft boards. Not exactly sure what's going to happen with Lonzo Ball's contract situation, so I think it's good for New Orleans to get another playmaker on the team. Pick number 11, going to be made by the Charlotte Hornets. They are going with Alperen Şengün. He is the Turkish League MVP at only like 19 years old. Offense is no issue at all. He has one of the highest basketball IQs in this draft. The questions for Şengün are about his defense, but I think the track record of guys this young being able to produce this much is in his favor. The Turkish League is like the third best league in the world behind the NBA and the Spanish League. So I think Şengün can have a pretty long career. I like him for Charlotte, especially with all the questions they have regarding their front court. Pick number 12, going to be made by the San Antonio Spurs. They're going with Usman Garuba, who is a player from the Spanish League, one of the top international players in this draft. He didn't get a lot of minutes, so his stats aren't that great, but he's a really young player, but getting legit minutes for this team. Has a nice passing IQ, but his defensive impact and hustle is where he's going to make an impact. He's also a strong rebounder. I think he could be on an all-defensive team in a few years. Offense still has a ways to go, but maybe the Spurs can work with him, help him refine that part of his game. Pick number 13, going to be made by the Indiana Pacers. They're going with Davion Mitchell from that Baylor team that won the national championship. Mitchell really took a leap this year as a shooter, so could he get even better? That's the question. He's already a great defender. He actually won National Defensive Player of the Year. I think he would complement Indiana's main guys pretty well. Pick number 14 is going to be made by the Golden State Warriors, their second lottery pick. They are going with Corey Kispert, teammate at Gonzaga with Jalen Suggs. He's an elite shooter off the catch and the dribble, quick release from all over the floor. See him as a guy who could shoot 50 from the field, 40 from three, and 90 from the free throw line, a 50, 40, 90 guy. He is an immediate rotation player for Golden State. Pick number 15, going to be made by the Washington Wizards. They're going with Jalen Johnson, freshman from Duke University, 6'9" power forward who can handle the ball, make plays like a guard, really good in transition. Pretty good defensive versatility as well. The red flags with Jalen Johnson revolve around his attitude and if he's a good teammate, because he quit on the Duke team mid-year, just up and left. So those are questions he's going to have to answer during the interview process. But I think mid-first round for a guy coming into the year was a top 5 pick. I think is pretty good value. Pick number 16, going to be made by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are going with Kai Jones. Big man, almost 7 feet tall, elite athlete. Sometimes he kind of disappears on the floor, so he's definitely going to have to get better at that. Kind of a project right now, but one of those guys we could look back in about 5 years and say this guy should have been a top 5 pick, or he could be playing in China somewhere. Not much in between with Kai Jones. Pick number 17, going to be made by the Memphis Grizzlies, and they're going with Trey Murphy III. And when you have a name like Trey and you have the third in your name, then of course you're going to be a guy who can hit the three-pointer, and that's what Trey is able to do. He's a stretch big as well. All these Virginia guys seem to work out pretty well in the NBA, so I would bet on him having a long career. And the Grizzlies are a team that needs some three-point shooting. Pick number 18, it's Oklahoma City again, and this time they are picking Zaire Williams, freshman from Stanford, the Stanford man. He was a top 10 pick coming into the NCAA college season. Just did not have a good deal at Stanford due to COVID-related issues and some personal issues. But if this guy puts it all together, really good pick in the late teens. He's 6'10", great length, good range on his shot when it goes in, solid defensive potential, really good in the open floor, just needs to get stronger. But one of those players who you see shades of Paul George to his game if he puts it all together. Pick number 19, going to be made by the New York Knicks. They are going with Jared Butler, teammate of Davion Mitchell on that Baylor team. Strong shooter, creative playmaker, and I think the Knicks need that on their team. Good defender, so I think Tibbs would definitely play him, but dude is already a pro, really mature player to help the Knicks next season. Pick number 20, going to be made by the Atlanta Hawks. They're going with Keon Johnson, freshman from the University of Tennessee, combo guard, lots of upside, one of the best athletes in this draft. He broke all kinds of records at the combine in terms of jumping and leaping ability, but he's an aggressive defender with a bulldog mentality. He does need to improve on offense. That's the main knock on him, but by all accounts, a really hard worker. So if he puts it all together, him in the backcourt with Trae Young, I think is a pretty nice tandem. Pick number 21, it's the Knicks again, and this time they're going with the big man, Isaiah Jackson. Look at this dude's pick. It looks like a driver's license photo, but Isaiah Jackson came on strong at the end of the season. He's a terrific shot blocker, really good lob catcher, kind of like a young Mitchell Robinson, so maybe some insurance if they don't end up re-signing Robinson to a contract extension. Pick number 22, going to be made by the Lakers. They are going with Chris Duarte. This guy, the oldest player in the draft, like historically old. He's almost 25 years old. He's basically close to the same age as Devin Booker, okay? But with that age comes lots of experience. He had a great college career. He's a knockdown shooter that the Lakers can use. He has that winning mentality. I think 100% he could contribute right off the bat, being a rotation. I'm a big fan of Duarte. Pick number 23, going to be made by the Houston Rockets. They're going with Miles McBride. He is moving up draft boards. He's a gritty and tough point guard. He can play some at the shooting guard spot as well, but really nice shooter. Lots of translatable skills for the NBA. Pick number 24, it's Houston again. This time they're going with Isaiah Todd, who was on that G League team with Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga. In my opinion, this guy is a sleeper. He was really good in high school, maybe fell off a little bit in the G League. He has to get stronger. He needs to improve his feel for the game. But the tools are all there, as they say, and I think this would be a good developmental piece for Houston, who needs lots of young players with good potential. Pick number 25, going to be made by the Los Angeles Clippers. They're going with Bones Highland. His real name is Neshawn, but he's so skinny, everybody calls him Bones. Bones is a bucket getter, instant offense, good range on his shot. As I mentioned, though, he does need to get stronger because he is super skinny. But he's a guy I think who could fit in with the Clippers, and this late in the first round, he is a good pick. Pick number 26, going to be made by the Denver Nuggets. They're going with Joshua Primo. This is the youngest player in the draft. He's not going to turn 19 until late December. So you draft Primo now with the expectation that if he'd stayed in college, he would be a lottery pick next year. Did not play much on a veteran college team for Alabama, but when he did play, he did a good job, very coachable, good shooter. Just stick him in the G League for a season or two, let him develop, and maybe you have a legit piece of the team one day. Pick number 27 is going to be made by the Brooklyn Nets. They are going with Jeremiah Robinson Earl. This dude has the longest name in the draft. Couldn't even fit it all on the graphic here. But he's from that Villanova program that has produced guys like Mikal Bridges. He really understands the game. He's a great teammate. He's a solid defender. I think he can be a rotation guy right away. And if his jumper develops, I think JRE could be a starter in this league. Pick number 28, going to be made by the Philadelphia 76ers. They are going with Jaden Springer, who played college ball with Keon Johnson, who was drafted by the Hawks a few picks ago. And he's actually a high school teammate of Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who I just talked about. Right now, though, Springer is a hustle player. He's a good defender. I'd like to see him fine-tune his game, but he does have the tools to be in a rotation down the line. Maybe he can be what Philly wanted Zaire Smith to be a few years back. Pick number 29, going to be made by the Phoenix Suns, Western Conference champions. They are going with Ayo Dosunmu from Illinois, one of the best players in college. I think he is a steal this late in the draft. He brings size to the guard position, versatility, switchability. He's one of those college players who goes late in the first round, but is going to end up making that all-rookie first team because he's a guy who knows how to play the game, knows how to win, and can contribute right away. Pick number 30, going to be made by the Utah Jazz. They are going with Sharif Cooper. He was a high usage player at Auburn, really good scorer, nice playmaker. Just check out those assist numbers. It is hard to average that many assists in college. Sharif, though, needs to improve his efficiency and his defense. And he is a really small guy, so that may impede him from reaching his full potential in the NBA. But I think he's a great understudy to Mike Conley, who also came into the league as one of the smaller point guards. Okay, that's the first round, but we have 30 more picks to go. Picks 31 through 60 coming up. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I do quality content like this all the time. So, second round, these contracts are not guaranteed. A lot of these players picked will be international players who teams will be able to keep overseas for a few years. These will be players that teams will be selecting to be two-way players or teams to fill out their G League team. So let's get to it. Pick number 31, going to be made by the Milwaukee Bucks. Algonquin for the good land. Your NBA champions are going to be selecting Cameron Thomas. This dude is a straight up scorer, maybe a bit of a chucker, not a good defender at all right now. I think all he does is really just score the ball. But maybe he comes in as a guy who lights it up like Lou Williams or Jamal Crawford used to do. I'm not as high on this guy as some people are because I want him to do more than just put points on the board, because he literally does nothing else to add value to the team. But you win NBA games by scoring lots of points, so maybe Cameron Thomas can help the Bucks win some games. Pick number 32, going to be made by the New York Knicks. They are going with Tre Mann. And I know from my last video that all the Knicks fans watching this channel really like the play of Tre Mann. They want him on the team. He's a knockdown shooter. He's got a good handle. Does need to work on his defense. Tre Mann is the type of guy who could go in the first round, but I think he's a good pickup in the early 30s. Pick number 33, going to be made by the Orlando Magic. They're going with Brandon Boston Jr., or BJ Boston, whatever you want to call him. But, oh man, what a fall from grace for BJ Boston. He was a lotto pick before the college season started. So you're picking him in the early 30s, betting that he will realize his potential. He played high school ball with Zaire Williams and LeBron James' son, Bronny. But this dude has tons of high school accolades. He was really bad, though, in his 1 year at Kentucky. The question with him is he that guy, or is he who he showed he was in high school? He could end up being one of those second-round steals that makes everybody look foolish down the line, thinking, okay, why did we not pick this guy? What did we not see with him? Time will tell. Pick number 34, going to be made by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are going with Jason Preston. This guy came out of nowhere to be a legit NBA prospect. He averaged 2 points in high school. Now, this guy's going to the NBA. I love his story. He's a hard worker, very cerebral player. He has good size, and he is a nice passer. Pick number 35, going to be made by the New Orleans Pelicans. They are going with Rokas Jokubaitis, one of the best young players in Europe. He's a really solid point guard. He's skilled as a ball handler, passer, and a shooter. One of those players you keep overseas for a few years, let him develop, and New Orleans has tons of picks in this draft, so they're going to need some international guys that they can stash overseas. Pick number 36, Oklahoma City Thunder again, another team with lots of picks in this draft. They are going with Gonzaga's Joel Ayayi, who is a well-rounded player who played with Suggs and Kispert, projects as a solid defender, secondary ball handler in the NBA. Does need to be more consistent with his shot, though. Pick number 37, going to be made by the Detroit Pistons. They're going with JT Thor. Josephine Trapezius Thor. This guy is moving up draft boards. Would not shock me to see him as a late first rounder. He's got impressive size, really long player. He's athletic, has a developing shooting touch. Another big man for Detroit to develop. Pick number 38, going to be made by the Chicago Bulls. They're going with Herbert Jones. This guy is one of the best defenders in the draft. 7-foot wingspan, probably can defend all 5 positions in the NBA. Like other guys I've talked about, just needs to improve his shooting, but one of those guys that passes the eye test as an NBA player. He has a good feel for the game, hard worker, good teammate, another potential second-round steal. Pick number 39, going to be made by the Sacramento Kings. They're going with Day'Ron Sharpe. He was on that awesome high school team with Cade Cunningham, Scottie Barnes. Moses Moody was on that team as well. But Day'Ron is a high motor, high rebounding center. He even has some playmaking, so you could run the offense through him a little bit. And from what I understand, he's getting better as a shooter. Good value at the 39th pick. Pick number 40 going to be made by the New Orleans Pelicans. They're going with Quentin Grimes. Good old Grimes. Yes, Elon Musk would be proud. He was a 5-star prospect in high school who played for KU, then he played for Houston, but he is a 3-and-D type of player. Just needs to be more consistent, but this dude, really hard worker, getting lots of love from teams. Fun fact, he actually has a brother playing in the NHL. This would be the first ever NHL NBA combo of brothers playing at the same time. That's kind of cool. Pick number 41, going to be made by the San Antonio Spurs. They're going with Vrins Blydenberg. Vrins follows me on Twitter, so I think he's definitely going to be a star in the NBA. He's getting comparisons to Alexei Pokusevski, who the Thunder selected in the first round last year. But Blydenberg is another tall dude who can handle the ball. He can shoot it a little bit. And of course, as we all know, the Spurs have a great track record with international players. Pick number 42, going to be made by the Detroit Pistons. They're going with Filip Petrusev. You may remember that name because he was actually on that Gonzaga team year before last, but he played overseas last year. In college, strictly played by the basket, but now he can really stretch the floor. He actually won the Adriatic League MVP. This is another guy you can stash overseas. Check on him in a couple of years. Pick number 43. It's another Pelicans pick. This time they're going with Santi Aldama. He's from Spain, but played college ball here in the U.S. Smart big man. I think he can be a second rounder that we look back on as a steal in a few years. Could he be the next great Spaniard in the NBA? I think he could. Pick number 44, going to be made by the Brooklyn Nets. They're going with Greg Brown, another guy who was very highly ranked before the college season started. Didn't show a whole lot in his 1 year at Texas, but he's a big man, explosive leaper, one of the best athletes in the draft. He does need to show that he has actual basketball skills, though, besides just running fast and jumping really high and doing dunks. But he has flashed some shooting potential, but he needs to focus in on that a little bit. One of those guys, if he puts it all together, and it's probably a big if, but if he puts it all together, he can be a big star, but there is high bust potential. But in the mid-second round, that's not a huge deal. Pick number 45, going to be made by the Boston Celtics. They're going with Josh Christopher, the man with 2 first names. Very similar to BJ Boston. He was a 5-star player in high school, didn't show a lot in his 1 year in college. Doesn't really defend, mainly just a guy who chucks the ball right now. But the team that picks him is going to bank on him turning it around with some good development. Pick number 46, going to be made by the Toronto Raptors. They're going with Neemias Queta, inside player, strong rebounder. He can block, he can steal, pretty good defender. Am I crazy to think that he could actually be the starting center for Toronto and be that dirty work guy? I don't know. I don't think I am. I think he actually could. Pick number 47 is another Toronto pick. This time they're going with Austin Reeves. He's a shooter, albeit an inconsistent one, but he does have that unique skill set, and he's a good competitor. Maybe an end-of-the-bench kind of guy for the Raptors to develop. Pick number 48, going to be made by the Atlanta Hawks. They're going with Kessler Edwards from Pepperdine, one of the best college campuses in the country. Edwards has that combination of shooting and defense, which I think could help him make an impact in the NBA. One of those 3-and-D players who I've talked about before. Can't have too many of those on your team. Pick number 49, going to be made by the Brooklyn Nets. They are going with Wuhan Begarin from France. This guy is a good option to stash overseas. He's a good passer. Lots of raw potential with him. I'll say it again, guy you can check on in a couple of years, and maybe he's actually worth something for the NBA. Pick number 50, going to be made by the Philadelphia 76ers. They're going with Charles Bassey. Chucky Bass, he was a center for Western Kentucky, kind of in that Mitchell Robinson vein, but really good value in the 50s. I think he could be a guy who's in the rotation as a rookie, can run to the rim, block shots, rebound, and knows his role. Pick number 51, going to be made by the Memphis Grizzlies. They're going with Ibu Badji. So why do you draft Ibu? Because he's 7'1" with a 7'6" wingspan. He's a defender and a shot blocker, big time. keep him overseas, let him develop. He's probably better than Hamed Haddadi, who played for the Grizzlies for a few years. So, I say, hey, give Ibu Baji a shot. Pick number 52, going to be made by the Detroit Pistons. They're going with Joe Weiskamp. This guy's a big-time shooter from Iowa. You see this guy, you get Duncan Robinson vibes. Just needs to keep getting better as a shooter and spacing the floor. Pick number 53, it's the Pelicans again. They're going with Ariel Hukporti. He's a German big man who offers rebounding, interior defense. And like I said before, New Orleans has so many picks. He's the best international player left that you can stash overseas. Pick number 54, going to be made by the Indiana Pacers. They're going with Aaron Henry. This dude has all the tools, but for whatever reason, hasn't really put it all together yet. You draft him to be a 3-and-D player. He has that Michigan State pedigree, very similar to guys like Draymond Green, Xavier Tillman, so you know that he is going to be tough. Pick number 55, it's the Thunder again. They're picking Raekwon Gray. This dude is a tank. He has that DeJuan Blair body type, like 6'7", close to 300 pounds. But even still, very quick on his feet. He can defend, he can pass. If he keeps his weight under control, continues to work on his game, I think maybe he can actually turn into something in the NBA. Pick number 56, going to be made by the Charlotte Hornets. They're going with David Duke, high-level player. He's a hard worker. Essentially, you would be drafting a guy who's a good defender, who can shoot it a little bit, but you hope that jumper eventually translates in the NBA. Back-to-back picks for Charlotte at number 57. This time they're going with Luka Garza. This guy was a stud in college. National Player of the Year, Naismith Award winner. Doesn't really have the type of athleticism needed for today's NBA, but if he can improve as a shooter, then that's definitely going to help his case. If this was 20 years ago, Garza would be a top 5 pick, but in today's NBA, he's kind of a dinosaur. I actually like him better than the centers that the Hornets currently have on their roster, though. Pick number 58, going to be made by the New York Knicks. They're going with Delano Banton from the Nebraska Cornhuskers team. Tell me if you heard this before. He's a guy who can hustle and defend, but not a great shooter. He's kind of what I call a Swiss Army knife type of player because he can score, he can rebound, he can pass. Lots of skills for one of those tall guards. Pick number 59, going to be made by the Brooklyn Nets. They're going with Moses Wright from Georgia Tech. Josh Pastner would be proud. He was a late bloomer who actually didn't start playing ball until high school, but he had some good numbers in college. He's an active big man, probably a two-way player for now, though. And the final pick of the 2021 NBA Draft, Mock 4.0, is going to be made by the Indiana Pacers. They're going with Daishen Nix. He played on that G League Ignite team with Jonathan Kuminga, Jalen Green, and Isaiah Todd. This guy was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school, but he really pooped the bed when he was playing for the G League. He is nowhere near ready right now for the NBA, but maybe you put him on a 2-way deal, let him develop, and see what you have in a couple of years. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. This was a lot of fun. Make sure you like the video, make sure you are subscribed, and make sure you comment below to tell me what you think of these picks. I'm sure I have a lot of angry fans of different franchises, but tell me who you would have picked for your team, and maybe when I do my next mock draft that I hope I can do before the draft next week, that I will take those picks into consideration. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm Troy, this is the Half Court Report, and I'll see you next time.